At 11:17 p.m. on a Tuesday night in July, my phone buzzed with a text from my grandson Oliver. The timestamp alone made my heart skip. The boy was 15, usually asleep by 10 on school nights, though it was summer break. I reached for my reading glasses on the nightstand. The message was short: "Grandpa, whatever you do, don't sign those papers tomorrow, please." I sat up in bed, the ceiling fan doing little against the coastal humidity that drifted through my open window. My estate sat on 3 acres overlooking Monterey Bay, a Victorian house I'd bought 43 years ago when I finished my residency. The papers Oliver mentioned were sitting on my desk downstairs, estate planning documents my daughter Sarah and her husband Marcus had brought over last week. Simple stuff, they'd said, transferring the property into Sarah's name for tax purposes. I'd be gone someday, might as well make it easy. I texted back, "It's late. What's wrong?" 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then, "I can't explain over text. Can you come to my window?" I'm at Mom's house. Sarah and Marcus lived 10 minutes down the coast road. I'd walked there countless times over the years, knew every twist of the cliff path. But at 71, at nearly midnight, my daughter would have a fit if she knew. "I'll be there in 20 minutes, I typed. I dressed quietly, pulling on the canvas shoes I wore for my morning walks. The vintage pocket watch my late wife Catherine had given me sat on the dresser, its gold case catching the lamplight. She'd presented it to me the day I opened my practice, nearly 50 years ago. I'd carried it through 40 years of patient rounds, retirement, her death 8 years ago from cancer. Marcus had asked to see it last month, said he knew a collector who might appraise it. I'd declined. Some things weren't for sale. I grabbed a flashlight and headed out. The path along the cliff was treacherous at night, but I knew it like my own heartbeat. Waves crashed 200 feet below, sending up spray that tasted of salt. My house disappeared behind eucalyptus trees, and soon I saw Sarah's place ahead, a modern thing Marcus had designed when they married 12 years ago. All glass and steel angles, nothing like the warm Victorian where Sarah had grown up. Oliver's window was on the ground floor, facing the garden. I tapped softly, and the curtain moved. His face appeared, pale in the darkness. Then the window slid open. "Grandpa," he whispered, glancing back toward his closed bedroom door. "You came. What's this about, Oliver?" He pulled out his phone, fingers flying across the screen. Then he held it up. I squinted at an email chain. Sender name Marcus Chen. Recipient someone called David Pritchard of Coastal Development Group. "I need you to read this," Oliver said. "I've been watching for 3 years, since I was 12. I know what he's planning." The email was dated 3 weeks ago. Marcus wrote, "Once the old man signs over the property, we can move forward with phase 1. I've already got him confused enough that nobody will question his mental state. The dementia story is selling well with Sarah. Pritchard, once we close the sale, your deposit of $800,000 will clear, and we split the remaining $2.4 million after demolition." My hands went cold. I read it again, certain I'd misunderstood, but there it was, clear as the medical charts I'd read for 4 decades. My son-in-law was planning to sell my house, my land, my home. The place where Catherine and I had raised Sarah, where we'd celebrated 40 Christmases, where I'd held my wife's hand as she took her last breath in our bedroom overlooking the bay. "There's more," Oliver said, swiping to another email. "He's been drugging you, Grandpa. Those vitamins he gives you? I found the bottles in their bathroom. Mild sedatives. Enough to make you drowsy, forgetful. Not enough to kill you, but enough to make you seem confused when you're out in public." "Oliver, that's a serious accusation." "I know." His voice cracked slightly, the teenager showing through his determined expression. "That's why I spent 3 years proving it. I have everything. Emails, bank transfers, recordings, photos. I even hacked his cloud storage." "You hacked," I started, then stopped. "Your mother knows you can do that?" "Mom doesn't know anything. She thinks you're declining, Grandpa." Marcus has her convinced. He shows her videos of you looking confused at the grocery store, forgetting things, getting tired in the afternoon. She cries about it. She thinks she's losing you like she lost Grandma. The words hit like a physical blow. Sarah thought I was slipping into dementia. My sharp, brilliant daughter who'd inherited Catherine's medical mind, who'd become a veterinarian because she loved helping animals the way I'd loved helping people. Marcus had turned my own daughter against me, using my age as a weapon. Why didn't you tell me before? I asked. Oliver's jaw tightened. Because I'm 15. I'm a kid. Every time I tried to say something to Mom, she'd pat my head and say I didn't understand adult finances. When I tried to tell Aunt Jennifer, she said I was being paranoid. Nobody listens to kids, Grandpa. So I stopped talking and started documenting. He pulled out a small notebook, the kind Catherine used to carry when she volunteered at the free clinic. Pages and pages of dates, times, observations. July 2021. Saw Marcus put white pills in Grandpa's orange juice. August 2021. Found receipt for hidden cameras in Grandpa's house. October 2021. Overheard Marcus on phone promising someone the property will be available by next summer. 3 years, I said quietly. 3 years, Oliver confirmed. And tomorrow you're supposed to sign. Once you do, he's got 30 days to close the deal with Pritchard. Your house gets demolished. They're building luxury condos, Grandpa. 20 units, ocean view, starting at $3 million each. I looked past him into the dark garden, where Sarah used to play as a child. Catherine had planted the roses there, taught Sarah the names of every bird that visited the feeders, and Marcus wanted to erase all of it for profit. What do we do? I asked. Oliver's eyes met mine, and I saw Catherine in them. That same determination, that refusal to accept injustice. We let him think he's won, Oliver said. You sign the papers tomorrow. But I've already contacted someone. Mr. Huang, the family lawyer. He was Grandma's friend, right? They went to medical school together before he switched to law. He remembers her. I called him last week, told him everything. He's prepared a second will, Grandpa. If Marcus succeeds in stealing the estate, everything goes to the Monterey Free Clinic in Grandma's name. Marcus gets nothing. The sale can't proceed without your heir's approval, and the clinic won't give it. I stared at my grandson, this boy who'd spent 3 years of his adolescence protecting me while I'd been oblivious, taking vitamins from a man who wanted to drug me into submission. Oliver, I said carefully, how did you get into Marcus's email? He had the grace to look slightly guilty. I'm really good at coding, like really good. I got into Stanford's summer program for computer science. They said I'm college level already. That doesn't make hacking legal. Neither is elder abuse, he shot back. Neither is fraud. Neither is drugging someone without their consent. Grandpa, I know it's not right, but I needed proof. And now we have it. Everything. Enough to bury him. I should have lectured him about ethics, about the proper channels. But looking at this boy who'd sacrificed 3 years to protect me, who'd taught himself hacking to save his grandfather's home, I couldn't find it in me to scold him. Tomorrow, I said slowly, I'll sign the papers. Then what? Then we wait. Mr. Huang is filing for a competency hearing. He's got a doctor who'll examine you, prove you're sound. Marcus will fight it, bring his fake evidence, his coached witnesses. That's when we show the real proof. Everything I collected. In front of a judge, your mother will be there. Oliver's face fell. I know, she's going to hate me. She'll hate Marcus more, I said. When she learns what he's done, I stayed at the window for another hour while Oliver showed me everything. The email chain stretching back 4 years, before he'd even started monitoring. Marcus had been planning this before Catherine died, waiting for the right moment. The bank statements showing payments to a caregiver who'd quit the senior center where I volunteered, prepared to testify I was losing it. The hidden camera footage Marcus had edited to make me look confused, cutting out context to create a false narrative. And the pills. Oliver had photographed the bottles Marcus kept hidden in their bathroom cabinet. Zolpidem tartrate, low dose. Enough to make an elderly man drowsy, forgetful, slow. Not enough to be dangerous, but enough to seem like dementia's early stages to a worried daughter. He's been giving them to you for 6 months, Oliver said, since January. I noticed you started getting tired in the afternoons, forgetting small things. I thought it was just age at first, but then I saw him slip something into your coffee when you visited for your birthday. I remembered that day. Sarah had made Catherine's favorite cake, lemon with raspberry filling. I'd felt so drowsy after lunch that I'd needed to lie down, missed most of the party. Sarah had cried, thinking I was deteriorating. Marcus had comforted her while I slept in their guest room. I stopped drinking anything he gives me after that, Oliver said. and I started watching you closer. You were fine when you were at your house, away from him, sharp as ever. It was only when you visited us that you'd get foggy. That's when I knew. The timestamp on his notebook entry was February 14th, Valentine's Day, the day after my birthday. He'd been 12 years old, just started 7th grade. While other kids his age were playing video games and worrying about middle school drama, Oliver had begun a 3-year investigation into his stepfather's crimes. "Thank you," I said. The words inadequate, but all I had. Oliver ducked his head. "Grandma would have done the same for you. I remember how she fought for her patients at the clinic. She taught me that sometimes you have to fight for what's right, even when it's hard." I reached through the window and squeezed his shoulder. "Your grandmother would be so proud of you. Will you really sign tomorrow?" "I will, and then we'll see this through together." I made it home by 1 a.m., exhausted but wired with adrenaline. The estate planning papers sat on my desk where Sarah had left them, Marcus's handwriting on the sticky notes marking where I should sign. I picked up Catherine's pocket watch, felt its familiar weight. The inscription inside read, "To Thomas, who dedicates his life to healing others. Love always, C." Marcus had asked about this watch, had suggested I might want to sell it, use the money for care expenses I didn't need. Now I understood. He'd wanted every piece of Catherine erased, every memory monetized or demolished. Not while I still had breath. The next morning, Sarah arrived at 10 with Marcus. She looked tired, worried. My daughter was 52 now, her dark hair showing gray that she'd stopped dying after Catherine died. She hugged me carefully, as if I might break. "Dad, you don't have to do this today if you're not ready," she said. "We can wait." "I'm ready," I said, meeting Marcus's eyes. He smiled, the expression of a man who thought he'd already won. Marcus was 48, handsome in that polished way that made people trust him. Real estate development had been good to him. He drove a Tesla, wore expensive watches, took Sarah on trips to wine country. She'd met him 10 years after Catherine's diagnosis, when she'd been lonely and grieving a marriage that was ending and a mother who was dying. Marcus had swept in with flowers and promises, and I'd been too focused on Catherine's treatment to notice the warning signs. Now those signs were everywhere. The way he touched Sarah's back possessively, the way he called me Pops with false familiarity, the way he'd already pulled out the papers, clicking his pen with barely concealed eagerness. "Beautiful morning," Marcus said, looking out at the bay. "This view must be worth millions." "It's priceless," I said quietly. "My wife and I used to watch the sunset from that window every evening." Of course, Marcus said, but he wasn't listening. He was thinking about condos and deposits and demolition schedules. I signed where he indicated. Sarah watched, tears in her eyes, thinking she was helping her declining father get his affairs in order. Marcus witnessed, his signature a flourish of victory. "All done," he said, gathering the papers quickly. "I'll file these today. Sarah, we should celebrate. Dinner at that place in Carmel?" "I'd rather stay with Dad," Sarah said, but Marcus was already steering her toward the door. "He needs rest, honey. You said yourself he gets tired easily." After they left, I sat in Catherine's favorite chair and waited. Mr. Huang called at noon. "The hearing is scheduled for next Monday," he said. "Marcus filed a motion for immediate conservatorship this morning. He's moving fast. He thinks he's won. Let him think that. We'll be ready." The next 5 days were theater. I played the part Marcus had written for me, the confused old man declining in health and mind. I shuffled a bit when Sarah visited. Let myself trail off mid-sentence once or twice. "Forgot where I'd put my car keys," Sarah cried. Marcus pretended to comfort her while his eyes calculated timelines and bank transfers. Oliver texted me every night, progress reports. Mr. Huang had the doctor lined up, a neurologist from Stanford who'd examined me thoroughly and found me completely sound. The Adult Protective Services investigator was prepared to testify about the red flags in Marcus's petition, and Oliver had organized his 3 years of evidence into a presentation that would leave no doubt. Monday arrived with fog rolling in from the Pacific. The courthouse in Monterey was old stone, built in the 20s, the kind of solid architecture Marcus wanted to replace with glass and steel. Sarah held my arm as we entered, treating me like I might fall. Marcus's lawyer was a sharp woman in her 50s who'd clearly handled many conservatorship cases. She presented her argument efficiently. Thomas Chen, 71, showing clear signs of cognitive decline. Unable to manage his own affairs. Needed protection. Evidence included video footage of me appearing confused in public, testimony from a caregiver about my memory lapses, and Marcus's own observations as a concerned family member. The caregiver took the stand, a woman named Patricia whom I'd never liked at the senior center. She testified I'd forgotten her name multiple times, missed appointments, seemed disoriented. "And how much is Mr. Marcus Chen paying you for this testimony?" Mr. Huang asked during cross-examination. Patricia's face went red. "I'm not being paid." "Really?" Mr. Huang produced a bank statement. "Because this shows a transfer of $15,000 from Marcus Chen to your account, dated the same week you quit your job at the senior center." The judge leaned forward. "Miss Patricia, I'll ask you again under oath." She crumbled, admitted Marcus had paid her to embellish, to make me sound worse than I was. The judge's expression went from neutral to severe. Then it was our turn. The Stanford neurologist testified I'd scored perfectly on every cognitive test. My memory was sharp, my reasoning sound, my judgment unimpaired. "In my professional opinion," he said, "Thomas Chen is as mentally competent as any 71-year-old I've examined. More so than most. There is no medical basis for conservatorship." Marcus's lawyer tried to argue the videos showed otherwise. That's when Mr. Huang called Oliver to the stand. My grandson walked to the front of the courtroom in khakis and a button-down shirt, looking impossibly young. Sarah gasped when she saw him. "Oliver, what are you doing here?" she whispered. "Oliver Chen," Mr. Huang said formally. "Please tell the court how you know the petitioner, Marcus Chen." "He's my stepfather," Oliver said clearly. "And for the past 3 years, I've been documenting his crimes." The courtroom went silent. Marcus half stood from his seat, then sat back down hard when the bailiff glared at him. Oliver pulled out his laptop. With the judge's permission, he connected it to the courtroom display. And then he showed them everything. The emails planning the sale, the fake dementia narrative, the hidden cameras and edited footage, the sedatives, the bribed witnesses, the deposit from Coastal Development Group. Every single piece of evidence, organized chronologically, cross-referenced, undeniable. Sarah's face went white as she watched. When Oliver showed the footage of Marcus slipping pills into my coffee at my birthday party, she made a small sound like something inside her had broken. "I started watching 3 years ago," Oliver said, his voice steady despite his white knuckles gripping the witness stand. "I was 12. I noticed my grandfather getting confused only when Marcus was around. I thought I was imagining it at first. But then I saw Marcus give him vitamins that weren't vitamins. I photographed the bottles. Zolpidem tartrate. Sleeping pills." "And you never told anyone?" the judge asked. "I tried," Oliver said, and for the first time his voice wavered. "Nobody listens to kids. Everyone said I was being paranoid. So I stopped talking and started collecting proof. I taught myself to hack because I needed his emails. I know that's illegal, and I'm sorry, but I didn't know how else to protect my grandfather." The judge was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "The court appreciates your honesty, young man. Continue." Oliver showed them the timeline, the 4 years of planning, the way Marcus had waited until Catherine died to begin his scheme, knowing she would have seen through him immediately, the systematic isolation of me from friends who might have noticed, the manipulation of Sarah, feeding her fears about my health until she believed her father was slipping away. "He was going to sell Grandpa's house," Oliver said, "the house where my grandmother died, where my mom grew up, where we still have Christmas every year. He was going to demolish it and build condos. And he was going to make my mom believe it was the right thing to do, that she was helping her sick father." By the time Oliver finished, there were tears on Sarah's face. She was staring at Marcus like she'd never seen him before. The judge asked Marcus if he had anything to say. He stood, straightened his tie. "Your Honor, this is clearly a misunderstanding. I love my family. Everything I did was to help." "Stop talking," the judge said coldly. "Bailiff, please take Mr. Chen into custody. I'm ordering an immediate investigation into elder abuse, fraud, and conspiracy. These charges will be forwarded to the district attorney." The bailiff moved toward Marcus. He looked at Sarah, seemed about to speak, but she turned away. "Sarah, you have to understand," he tried. "Don't," she said, her voice breaking. "Don't say my name." They let him out in handcuffs. The courtroom erupted in whispers. The judge banged her gavel. This petition for conservatorship is denied. Mr. Thomas Chen is found fully competent and will retain all rights to his estate and personal affairs. This court will reconvene in 30 days for sentencing on the criminal charges. We're adjourned. In the hallway afterward, Sarah stood frozen. Oliver approached her carefully. "Mom," he said, "I'm sorry. I know you loved him." She pulled him into a fierce hug. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry I didn't listen to you. 3 years, Oliver. You were 12 years old and you saw what I couldn't. You trusted him. That's not your fault. I should have trusted Dad. I thought," her voice broke, "I thought I was losing him like I lost Mom. I was so scared." I put my hand on her shoulder. "I'm right here, Sarah. I'm not going anywhere." She turned to me, mascara running, looking like the little girl who used to bring me dandelions from the garden and call them flowers. "Daddy, what he did to you. The pills. Making you seem confused. I helped him. I believed him when he said you were declining. You believed what any loving daughter would believe. He's a skilled liar." But Oliver saw through him at 12 years old. Oliver had Catherine's instincts, I said. She always could spot a fraud. We went back to my house, the three of us. Sarah helped me make tea while Oliver sat at the kitchen table with his laptop, finally able to relax after 3 years of constant vigilance. "Mr. Huang called," he said, checking his phone. "The DA is filing charges. Fraud, elder abuse, attempted theft, conspiracy. Marcus is looking at 10 years minimum." "Good," Sarah said fiercely. Then she covered her face with her hands. "I married him. I brought him into our family. And you're not responsible for his choices," I said firmly. "You're a good person who was manipulated by someone skilled at manipulation. That's not a character flaw, Sarah. That's human." We sat together as the afternoon sun moved across the kitchen floor. The same floor where Catherine and I had danced on our anniversary, where Sarah had taken her first steps, where Oliver had learned to make pancakes with his grandmother. Marcus had wanted to demolish all of this, turn it into investment property and profit margins. But we'd stopped him. A 71-year-old retired doctor, a 15-year-old boy, and the memory of a woman who'd taught us both to fight for what mattered. The trial took 3 months. Marcus's lawyer tried every angle. Oliver's evidence was illegally obtained. The pills were legitimate medication prescribed by a doctor who suddenly couldn't be found. The emails were taken out of context. The jury didn't buy any of it. They found him guilty on all counts. The judge gave him 12 years, noting that crimes against vulnerable elders warranted the maximum sentence. "You targeted a man who spent his life healing others," she said. "You manipulated his daughter's love, attempted to steal his home, and tried to erase a family's history for personal profit. This community is safer with you behind bars." Sarah divorced him before the sentencing was complete. Oliver got accepted to Stanford, early admission for their computer science program with a full scholarship. The admissions officer said they'd never seen a more impressive portfolio of self-taught skills, though they politely didn't ask how he'd acquired them. And I kept the house, kept the watch, kept every memory intact. On what would have been Catherine's 75th birthday, I stood in the garden with Sarah and Oliver, watching the sunset paint the bay in shades of gold and rose. Sarah had planted new roses, the same variety Catherine had loved. "Mom would have been proud of you both," Sarah said quietly. "The way you protected Dad, Oliver. The way you trusted him, Dad. The way this family fought back." "She taught us well," I said, touching the pocket watch in my vest. It still kept perfect time after all these years. Oliver smiled, the teenager finally showing through now that the burden of investigation was lifted. "Grandpa, can I ask you something?" "Anything." "That text I sent you at 11:17 p.m. Did you notice the timestamp?" "I did. It was late. It was exactly 8 years to the minute after Grandma died. I checked her death certificate. I didn't plan it that way. It just happened." Sarah drew in a sharp breath. "You think she was watching?" "I think," Oliver said carefully, "that some people protect their families even after they're gone. And I think Grandma would never let anyone hurt you, Grandpa. Neither would I." I pulled them both close, my daughter and my grandson, standing in the garden Catherine had planted, in front of the house we'd built a life in, watching the sun set over the same bay we'd watched for 43 years. They'd tried to take it all away. They'd thought an old man was easy prey, that a 15-year-old was just a kid, that love and memory could be bulldozed for profit. They'd been wrong. And standing there with the two people I loved most in the world, with Catherine's roses blooming around us and the Pacific stretching to the horizon, I understood what she'd known all along. Family isn't just blood or buildings or property lines. It's the fierce protection of what matters. It's a boy spending 3 years documenting crimes because nobody else would listen. It's a daughter choosing truth over comfort. It's standing together when the world expects you to fall. Your wisdom matters, I said to Oliver. Words I'd heard Catherine say 1,000 times to young doctors and nurses she mentored. Never let anyone tell you otherwise. He nodded, understanding. And somewhere, I swear I felt Catherine smile.